everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J. Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation, Incorporated, and I am super excited to get into the podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3, community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She was my paternal grandmother, and although she passed away in 2001 of a massive heart attack, what she taught me and my family was about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure of introducing to you one of my sister friends. We met a while back when we attended at the same church, and we used to sing together in the choir. She has been featured as one of our Flora Pearl Foundation Phenomenal Faces of Greatness, and also recently spoke at one of our Flora Pearl Inspires Network events. She is a phenomenal woman who I just love and adore. She is making a huge difference daily in the lives of others. This beautiful gem is truly a part of my tribe. So without further ado, I would like to present to you Sandreka Brown. Hi, Sandreka. How you doing?
Girl, I am wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And we're so excited and just honored to have you with us today. And if you would, just briefly go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, my name is Sandreka Brown. I'm a small town girl with big city dreams. I am a teacher, teach middle school math, but I'm also a writer and an author, as well as many other things such as a mentor. Just have a heart for others and fulfilling my purpose in life. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Awesome. Okay. Well, definitely we're going to go ahead and just jump into the podcast. And so we want to talk about this author role and just you just being a best-selling author. And so I wanted to know what made you take that first step in becoming an author?
Wow. My first two books was actually devotionals for teachers. I don't know if you know this, but I was an x-ray tech before I became a teacher. I always tell the story that I wanted to be a teacher all along, but teachers didn't make much money. So I went for the medical field, but I was unfulfilled. And so after 3 years, I got my master's and started teaching. During the third and fourth year of teaching, I had some really challenging times, and one of the ways that I coped through that time was I started writing, and I started writing my experiences, but I would find scriptures to kind of support me and give me the I needed to face another day. And as I was writing some of those devotionals, I could not hold that to myself, because I witnessed many other teachers who were having some of the same challenges or, more challenges than me. And I know that we're in a society that, we don't, pray in school anymore. But just because we can't pray in school, or just because they took God out of school, that doesn't mean they can't take God out of me, basically. So I had to rely on my spiritual strength to get me through some really tough natural situations. And so that's how I started writing my devotionals for teachers. I always felt like I had some kind of gift for writing. I really didn't pursue it as a child. I chose sports over writing, but it's just funny how that same gift that I knew I had as a child came back around and helped me through a lot of challenging situations. So that's how I got on the ship of writing.
Okay. All right. And I wanted to know, with that, just in speaking to, say, an inspiring writer, or just, someone who definitely they want to become an author, what are some pearls of wisdom that you could share with them?
Well, if they want to become a writer and they know what they want to write about, I would say, just write to get started. Just write. Don't worry about the format. Don't worry about the grammar. Write. Get it out. Whenever you get that urge to write. Because the editing process, the cover process, the publishing process can be taken care of. But a lot of people, I guess, get paralyzed by all the different things that can, take place in the publishing process, the writing process. Maybe not, you don't know grammar too well. So, it's a lot to take on in the beginning. But I would just say, just start writing. Just start. Even if you just write, for 10 minutes a day. However, for me, sometimes I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and write. But definitely just start writing. But there are people out there who know specifically what they want to write about. Right. So I think we talked about before, a table of contents is a great place to start. So go ahead and sketch out you a blueprint of what you want to write about, and then take that blueprint and, chunk it up. Take a section and write about it, and then take the next section, and before you know it, you will be finished and have a book. But for those who don't know clearly what you want to write about, but you have some ideas in your head, just write it out. Sometimes things come as we write, and the picture becomes clear as we write. So definitely start. That's the hardest part.
Right. No, yeah. And I wanted to ask you, even, I know you were saying kind of the other things they come along with it. Like once you start writing, then, then the editor comes. How do you choose who needs to edit or be your editor?
Well, for me, there was only one editor in mind at the time for me, and it was actually a girl that I went to college with who had wrote a book and then started her own publishing company. But there are many editors out there. I would say build a relationship with your editor before selecting it, because editors can sometimes try to change your entire work, but you know what you want to write about. You know the message that you want to convey, and you can't allow anybody to change that.
I love that.
So you need to build a relationship with your editor, so your editor knows your heart, know what you're trying to convey, so when they edit, they keep that in mind and they're not making it their own.
That's awesome. No, that's great. That's great advice. I appreciate you for saying that, because I've often wondered that, when, and I would hear, I think even some authors even talk about it, and just some other ones where they would say, this person, like they wanted to come in and change some stuff, so that's why that's a great piece of advice with saying, make sure they have your heart and they know what you want. So that's awesome. Great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I did want to kind of touch on, you had mentioned, even in being a teacher, and how, there were some challenging times, and you did write to help you get through it. And I wanted to know if you would share possibly like, at least 3 things that were there, even outside of writing, to help you persevere when everything around you was saying to give up.
Well, I guess the first thing I can say is I stay in teaching a lot of days when I want to quit, because of the relationships I build with my colleagues. There are so many teacher friends I have who know that this is a calling, or feel like this is a calling for them, just like me. And so quitting is not like our first I guess, mode of operation when things get tough. So we really encourage each other. There's maybe days where, I had a challenging day, and feel like I'd rather go to the corporate job teaching, and, you know, my colleague is strong that day. And so they remind me of, you know, or they not really remind me, but they cause me to pause and reflect on why I'm doing what I'm doing anyways. And so I can say for the most part, building those relationships with those colleagues that have the same mindset or in there for, you know, similar reasons really keep you going through those really tough and challenging days. Because, you know, when I became a teacher, I let my my radiography license expire. And so when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, you're really in this. And you know, there's no turning back.
I know,
so,
right?
So yeah, I lean on those relationships to help me get going, because every day is different. There's going to be days where one thing can happen, one good thing can happen that make you forget all about, you know, the challenges you faced, you know, prior to it. So it's very rewarding. But I do thank God for having colleagues who, you know, assist, encourage, motivate, remind me, edify me. So that's one of the things that keep me going. Two, I would have to say the students. You know, I am here for the students to help edify, inspire, encourage, and support them in their goals and their dreams. I teach a different way. I'm actually more like a facilitator of learner and a facilitator of them accomplishing their own goals and dreams. And it's just so rewarding when you see that light bulb finally go off in that student, or when you get that email from one of your former students and saying, you know, thank you for being hard on us, or this class is so much easier because of what I learned in your class. So my students really, really keep me going. I mean, when I wake up every day, you know, I'm getting up for them, going to be, you know, that servant leader for them. So that keeps me going. What else? My faith. My faith, you know, I already talked about that once, but I feel like this is a part of the calling that God, you know, has for me. And so I don't want to let him down. You know, he has trusted me with this gift. And so every day I go out and I try to teach as if I am being graded by God himself.
Wow. That's powerful.
So that keeps me going. That keeps me going.
That's perfect. Awesome. Well, when you, you know, like you even talked about, though, as it relates to support system, I want to kind of segue into that topic. And I know you were saying with what kind of keeps you going is your coworkers and kind of that tribe, you know, that you've built there. You know, when you hear the word support system, though, you know, what does that mean to you?
Wow. Well, I think about a support system. First of all, I feel like, you know, my support has to be, have a similar mindset. They have to have what I like to call a growth mindset. So that's why I rely on my colleagues and my coworkers a lot, because we have a similar mindset. And so it's not really a codependency situation, but they're there that when it's almost like when I'm weak, they're strong. And so, and I not only rely on human, you know, physical touch contact or face-to-face contact or for support system, I also think about many books I've read and how those authors who, you know, had some pearl of wisdom, as you call it, and how they can mentor me through their words as well. So if I'm trying to be a great teacher, you know, I'm reading from great teachers themselves, you know, not trying to mock their lives in any form of fashion, but trying to gain what I can to help me, you know, keep going and have the support I need. But definitely people with similar mindset, growth mindset, books, many motivational videos. One of my favorite motivational speakers is Eric Thompson. I actually play him in my classroom. We always do Thank God It's Monday. But I never met Eric before. But I feel like he's a part of my support system.
Yeah,
you know,
E.T., yeah.
the things he talk about and everything. And, you know, I think about my family. They're part of my support system. My support system, the different people that are in my support system offer different things, but at the end of the day, you know, I know that they have my best interest at heart, and they, you know, want me to accomplish everything that I was set out to accomplish. So, you know, even if it is Eric and I never met him, his messages just convey that he wants people, you know, to be the very best that they can be. Right. No matter the situation. So, yeah, that's what support system means for me. Not just, you know, people that we see face to face, but, you know, when you have a heart to do something and you're hungry, you'll go find it. And even if it's found in a book, you know? Yeah.
No, that's good. It's so amazing that you talked about E.T. because I remember I was introduced to him back in 2012. I mean, as it relates to like seeing his stuff on YouTube, and really just got off into, you know, just listening to just different stuff. I just remember just to see him have, you know, how he's grown from that time to now, it's pretty powerful. And it really goes to show, like, you know, with his testimony, you know, even from being homeless and, you know, eating out of trash cans and to now having his PhD, you know, and having a strong marriage and, you know, even putting his children through school. I just, you know, and operating a multi-million-dollar company. I just, you know, it's powerful. It's pretty powerful. So, yeah, I mean, just like you said, it's awesome when you can, you know, think about people who, like you said, you don't have to have met them. You could have, you know, just being introduced that way. But it's amazing how, you know, he's touching each of our lives too, you know, but even lives that you say you've touched. And although some people have come across your path, it could be some of the things you said to your students that they're telling other people about. You know what I mean? Right. And so you're touching them, and you never met the people that they're talking to, but they're saying, you know, hey, yeah, Miss Brown, this is what she did for me. You know, so that's pretty cool. It's amazing how it's almost like a ripple effect, where you don't have to, when you touch that one person, you never know what sphere of influence they're going to touch, you know, and that's just pretty cool. So, and I know you did talk about, even you touched on being a mentor. And so I kind of want to move into that particular topic and ask you, you know, have you had, you know, mentors along your path?
Oh, definitely. I mean, from a kid, I would call my parents my first mentors. Okay. Then we moved from the trailer park to a house when I was in the 9th grade, and actually my next door neighbor became a mentor of mine, Miss Cynthia Barra. I began to like go to church with her, sometimes at her church, and participate in her youth groups. And I mean, Miss Cynthia and it's so many I can name from that church. Miss Cynthia, Miss Vivian Nellums, Miss Vanessa Reed. They saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and they mentored me. As if, you know, I mean, I guess through the eyes of what they saw, and I didn't realize, but I really appreciate that they helped, you know, mold me and shape me and educate me, and really push me out to see what God had inside of me. So they definitely played a great part of my childhood. When I came to, when I went to college at UAB, of course I had mentors in the field of studies that I was in. I guess I always sought out somebody to help me along the path, you know, along my path. I always, you know, heard from, you know, adults that, you know, you need to link up with somebody who's been where you're trying to go. And so definitely I always kind of sought out somebody with knowledge. Spiritual mentors, Pastor Michael D. Moore, of course. Yeah. He was a mentor of mine at Faith Chapel Christian Center. As a matter of fact, when I first joined Faith Chapel, I was just so hungry. I was a college student working at third shift, but I was taking every class they offered
Right.
as far as leadership. And so he definitely had an amazing part of my growth. So he was a mentor. And then just, like I said, going back to people who just, people I read, people I listen to as far as motivational speakers, they also serve as mentors for me in different arenas of life.
And so,
those are my mentors.
yeah. And so what do you feel like has been the key to your success?
Oh, man. The key to my success, I think it would be a combination of things. I think it boils down to starting and finishing. A lot of people start things. I hear it all the time when people ask me about writing. People tell me all the time that they started something, but it's the finishing part. And we can't experience success if we don't finish it. So I think it all boils down to I finished what I started. I finished. It's all the scripture is coming to mind to me, how God will finish that good work.
Yeah, I know.
that
he started it, right.
That's kind of what was popping up in my head. So it's like, the ideas and things that come to me, I know that they came from God.
Yeah.
And so the key to the success that I want to experience, meaning, seeing that thing to fruition. I think we were talking about it earlier, saying yes to the idea of the things that God has put in your heart, but also saying no to some things that will try to hinder that.
Yeah.
That was really good when we were talking about that a little earlier. So I think that's what it all boils down to, but I do have to give credit for, going back to my support system. There was time where I did not have the finances to, complete a project.
Yeah.
But because people believed in what I was doing and the message that I was trying to get out, people came. They gave. They supported.
Yeah.
So I definitely couldn't have did it without them. So it was a combination of things, but I think a lot of times we have to start, we have to continue to see the success we want to see in the end.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we're going to segue into the topic. It's called Culture Vibes, and it's really as it relates to pop culture and different topics that may be trending. And I wanted to kind of hone in on the topic as it relates to women of color. And I read somewhere once where it was talking about how big brands are willing to profit from women of color without standing up for them. And I wanted to ask you, do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I've been seeing a lot. For me, I haven't been watching a lot of news, so let me just go ahead and put that out there. A lot of things that's been happening in society, not trying to be numb to it or anything, but I've kind of not really engaged in it. But when it comes to the topic of a woman of color and, the support that we get from different brands and different things, I totally agree that we're not getting that support, that advocacy that is needed for women of color as it relates to different big brands and stuff like that. I think about, even the acting world, and I just listen to some people's story like, Queen Latifah, Sanaa Lathan, Gabrielle Union, different people and what they have to go through to even get some of the roles that they get, and how the discrimination they face in Hollywood. And, I feel like that's a perfect opportunity for production companies or brands to, support and advocate for women of color. I really do.
Okay. Yeah, because I read somewhere once, and it's a known fact pretty much that we are big consumers. We have a lot of buying power. And so we do spend a lot of money as it relates to being women of color, but not necessarily represented in those owning power rooms, equally as much as having that buying power. And so I wanted to know, even what are your thoughts on how do we continue to make strides to prepare the next generations after us to really start that owning power?
Girl, let me tell you what I tell my students. When I was growing up, I thought college was the answer. So this small town girl got 3 degrees, But let me tell you what I tell my students.
Okay.
You don't have to wait for college to live out your dreams.
That's so good.
So what I try to help develop in my students is what talents do you have right now that you can use to create the life that you want? And this is not knocking college at all.
Yeah.
I support college. I have college degrees or whatever.
Right.
But I think about the kids who own businesses now, and they're only 13 or 9. I think about my god niece, Kayla, who, started her own cupcake business when she was in middle school. Those type moves are creating the mindset that we need to start owning, and I think we have to develop them in our children.
Yes.
So that may require parents to invest a little bit more in understanding who your child is, and what are their gifts and how can you help, their gifts grow, and is this something that you guys can invest in now to start this ownership mind? Because so many of our kids are talented. I can't remember the girl's name who now her lemonade is sold in Whole Foods or something. I can't remember the store.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't recall a name right now. But yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Move. And I think about this young guy in Auburn. Well, he used to live in Auburn. He's graduating. I think he's a freshman at Selma University. His name is Devin. What's his last name? Can't remember his last name right now. But this guy started his own kind of sports analyst show as a high school student.
Wow.
And he does it on social media. And he told me that, he didn't know it was going to get that big. And so I think this summer he had an opportunity to go to New York, go to ESPN and different places like this. Those type of actions are creating the mindsets we need to start, to have more ownership. To have more ownership as adults. So I feel like, we gotta go to the kids. We gotta start investing more in our kids, and we gotta start teaching them more about, ownership and business mindsets and developing the gifts that are in us. I do believe in college, but college is not the answer to the life that we want to create. It's not the only answer to the life we want to create.
Right.
We are talented. We are smart. I mean, I just think about all the inventions that are made and different things. Like, there's just our young people are so rich, and we just have to help foster them into, do like my mentors did when I was a teenager. They saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself, and they didn't wait for me to see it to start molding me and teaching me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's definitely what we have to do with our kids.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I so appreciate you saying that, even in being an educator, because a lot of times, just you may not always hear it from an educator to say there are other ways. Like, it doesn't have to just be this one way. And I think just when a lot of us were growing up, and the generations prior to definitely the generations now, it pretty much was, you go to college and you get this good job. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, you can have the different degrees, and you're not even using the degree that you have for what you're doing, on a daily basis, or what it may be one of those streams of income. It may not be that. So I agree that mindset, saying like that really has to be the case. with changing that. And that's even in changing that in us. It's not just one way. Nowadays, it's so many different opportunities that you can even create. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't have to be you wait on somebody else to give you permission. And that's why, when I was talking about that owning power, it's where you see a need and you add value. Like, that's what I'm beginning to hear, because I've been listening to Jim Rohn a lot over the last, I remember really being introduced to him probably within the last year or so. But I really started listening to a lot. But he always talks about that, adding value. And that became a part of what I talk about. How are you adding value? And he calls about to the marketplace, but he said also to your relationships, to, just different things like that, to yourself. Like, what are you doing? How are you investing? And so I begin to look at things different, and I'm so glad to hear that you believe the same. It really means a lot. And being, like I said, an educator too, and sharing that with the audience. So thank you for sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we're going to segue into the topic as relates to the weight and singleness. And so I just wanted you to kind of share your experience with us as it relates to you being a single woman of color.
My, how much time we got? Well, honey, I don't even know where to begin. I'll just say this. Marriage has always been a part of my heart's desire because of what I've seen in my parents. My parents are high school sweethearts, been together since 9th grade, and still love and like each other. So that means a lot to me. The traditions that we've made in our family is definitely a part of, what I want to cultivate in my own family. So I have had a desire to be married as long as I could remember. When I was in college is when I began to listen to a lot of single messages and try to develop myself for marriage. And so there is many single books out there that talks about, how for Christian women. I know you asked me for a woman of color, but I guess I'll touch on that in a moment. But for a woman, we were taught, establish your relationship with God, find your purpose, and then the mate would come. I listened to a lot of messages that gave us the keys or the steps to doing this. And what I really didn't understand about myself then that I understand about myself now is that I'm a very logical and analytical person. And if somebody tells me something, that's what I take, face value. I'm not assuming anything, or I'm not, I'm just focused on exactly what they said. And so I worked really hard to do that, establish my relationship with God. My college year, I read so many purpose books, just trying to, figure out, my purpose, praying about purpose. So found purpose, got involved, and then I was like, okay, here comes the mate. But the mate did not come. Yeah. Or has not come yet. Right. And so in my early 20s, or should I say my mid-20s, I began to get discouraged. Yeah. I began to get angry. Yeah. And I was bitter. I don't know if I ever really just talked about this, but I was angry. I was angry at the church. Yeah. I was angry with every single message I heard. Okay. I was a little upset with God because I felt like, I'm a checklist type of person. So I'm like, I did this. And the man came, Yeah. So I was upset. I felt let down. Okay. I felt like, the thing that I was holding on to had let me down, which was like the messages that I had received. And I spent about 3, 4, 5 years in this state. And And for a long time, it was like, before I even knew about online dating and all that kind of stuff, I just didn't meet guys on a regular basis. And I wanted a quality of a man, and I didn't want to settle for just anything to have somebody. And so I really struggled. I also have lived by myself for many years, probably since I graduated college. So I've always been alone. And there was just a lot of things that I did not understand, and I was asking God about it. You said it wasn't good for, man to be alone. You said it's better to marry than burn. And you'll give me the desires of my heart. So I just felt like everything that I was standing on, was letting me down. And maybe God had set me up for not success, but for failure, because, this thing wasn't happening to me. So I got to a place one day, I said, you know what, it can't be God, because God is not a man that, he should lie. God is, he's my father. He gives good gifts, so it can't be him. So it got to be me. So I started to look internally or whatever, and I checked my attitude, and I began to shift in my singleness to a place where I wanted to be not complacent and happy. I didn't want that desire to be married to be my wakening thought, my going to bed thought, and the thing that kind of, that thorn in my flesh that I had to think about every day. So I would try to talk to people about it, and a lot of the advice people would give me is that you got to get busy. You got to get busy. You got to just keep doing things. And that didn't work with my personality and my lifestyle, because I didn't like to be busy for the sake of being busy. I like to have a balanced lifestyle. Yeah. So one day I just began to pray, and I said, God, you got to, give me something that not take the place of a desire to be married, but that thing that will fulfill my life, that no matter how long I have to wait, that I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be okay. And so that's when the writing actually started to come around as well. I began to write, and that was the thing that, kind of started to fulfill me. And it wasn't like I had to, to keep myself busy, that I had to go out to the clubs every weekend, or I had to take up a hobby that I didn't really want to learn and waste money just to keep busy. Because at the end of the day, I'm still coming home to myself, and I'm still going to have to deal with, this singleness or whatever. But writing and tapping into another part of my purpose really started to fulfill me as a single. Do I still think about it? Do I still have the desire? I do. I have engaged in online dating. I have had relationships or whatever. It did not work out, and that's okay too. And one of the things that I'm learning is that everything doesn't have to end bad. Relationships don't have to end bad. When you're getting to know somebody and you guys know that this is not a good fit, or it's okay to acknowledge that and move on. So another thing I'm learning as a single is that we don't have to keep going through the cycles of heartbreak in this dating phase. We don't have to keep doing that. You ask the questions up front. You take the time to get to know each other, and if it's not a good fit, that's perfectly okay. So now where I am in my singleness is I live each day, with joy. There are days where, I do feel the weight of like not having somebody or wanting to have somebody. But you know what? I just started to think about, the gifts that God gave me and who He wants me to impact, and I serve those people. I serve those purposes. And will it happen for me? I'm like this, Tasha. If I never get married, I am okay now. And it has taken a long time for me to say that. If I never get married, I'm going to be okay. I'm still going to be the happy Sandreka. I'm still going to smile, and I'm going to still serve my purpose and the people that God has put in my life. Because I think the way that I got to that place is I have learned me, I love me because God made me. He's shown me who I am, and I'm okay with the weight. I'm okay with the weight now because I don't want to have somebody just to have somebody. I want a match made in heaven. And sometimes, you know, with the different things that, you know, I think one of the things we have to acknowledge too in this world, and it relates to all the singles, you know, there has been some changes going on. You know, I see the changes in like a lot of men, not all, but there are men who are like, you know, say I'm at 35. A lot of men may just be getting on their feet now and, you know, trying to establish a life that's suitable for a family and a wife. Okay, do I want to, you know, wait till they get to that place? Or, you know, there's a lot of different things going on in society that has impacted, I believe, the number of singles and, you know, why a lot of people are single. And so for me, to be totally honest, for me, those are the things that I pray about. So I see the issues in the world and I say, what can I do? And one of the things I know I can do is I can pray about those issues and the different things that I see to hopefully, you know, help with the influx of all the singles or whatever. But I know that was long, girl. I know that was long,
no,
but I have finally come to a place, and it feels good. I finally come to a place where, you know, I am truly, truly happy. I am not bitter. I'm not upset with, you know, God. I'm not upset with the messages I heard. I'm not upset with the church. You know, I'm not upset because they gave really good information. You know, it was just me. I had to understand who I was and how I operate. And I'm a checklist type of person. Right. And so sometimes the preacher just didn't say what I needed him to say to help with my checklist. But it was definitely there.
Right. No, but that's, you know, that takes a very big person and being humble and you being able to say, you know, hey, it's not to anybody else to blame. It was me. When you first started out and you were sharing, you know, these are the things I was bitter, I was this, and this is why. It just takes a very mature person as well to be able to see through themselves and see that, you know, hey, I'm the common denominator here.
Right.
You know, like I was the one in, whether it was at church or whether I was dating someone or whether I wanted the checklist or however the case may be, you know, where you can really say, you know, I got to learn me. You know, and what I really like and what I can bring to the table and what I'm not capable of bringing to the table, you know.
Right.
So that, I mean, that's a huge step. So I definitely commend you for that and just even being transparent and sharing, you know, that. And so, yeah, so we're going to segue even as relates into the topic of family. And I know that, well, I know family is important to you, like you talked about, even with your parents, and you've just in me knowing you through the years. I mean, definitely family is huge, and that's one of the areas though as it relates to Floor Pro. That's what my grandmother taught us, and so I wanted to know, you know, if you could explain to our audience, you know, just why family is important to you.
Wow. Family is important to me because it's who I am. You know, I think about people saying, oh, you know, she's a good writer, she's a great teacher, you know, maybe she's good at math or she's a great speaker. And if I'm not careful, that can boost my head up. But at the end of the day, when I look at my family, I know that you know, a lot of that is a part of their DNA. Who I am, you know, is who they are. My mom can write. You know, she may not be an author, but she can write. And I know that my writing skill comes partly from her. So that's important to me. My dad is great at math. And so when I think about myself being a math teacher and loving math, I know it comes partly from him, you know. So I'm who I am because of them, and that's why they mean so much to me. You know, I think about when I went to college, I did not have a lot of money. We did not have a lot of money, but the sacrifices my parents made, my grandparents made to ensure that I got this college education, means the world of me. My grandparents, sometimes they couldn't, pitch in financially, but when I came home, they sent me back with all this food. That mattered to me. So family means a lot to me because, it's who I am. And I know we're not talking about teaching and students, but I do teach at a Title I school. have been teaching at a Title I school since I started teaching. And one of the things that get under my skin is, when people say, these kids or, but these kids. And I'm thinking to myself, I am these kids.
Ooh, yes.
I am these kids. I didn't come from, from money. I watched my parents sacrifice. I don't feel like I didn't think we were poor because we always had food to eat. We always had clothes, on our backs and different things like that. But I wasn't afforded a lot of experiences in life as a child. Probably due to some of the same reasons some of my students haven't been exposed. And so I feel like I'm not above my students at any, I do have some college degrees, but I'm not above them. I am them. So that just, makes it even more meaningful to me as a teacher and teaching my students, And so same thing with my family. I am my family. They're not a separate entity from me. I am them. Who I am is who they are. People may celebrate me as the author, but I gotta give credit to my mom. People may celebrate me as a math teacher, but I gotta give credit to my dad. They help deposit some of those things in me that people celebrate. So I love my boos. They my boos.
All right. Okay. Well, we're going to segue into the topic as it relates to mother-daughter bonds. And what it is a series of questions that I would like for you to answer. And so what this segment does is encourage conversations among mothers and daughters. And it also is a good way for our audience to get to know our guests. So are you ready?
Sure, let's go.
Well, what has your mother taught you about yourself?
Oh, what has my mom taught me about myself? Wow. That's a good one. I think my mom has taught me in knowing me that it's okay to be emotional, yet confident at the same time. I am a person who feels things very deeply. And a lot of times I didn't want to let that out because I didn't want to be, seen as a weakling or anything.
Yes.
But my mom kind of have taught me intentionally and unintentionally that it's okay to have that emotional side and still be a confident woman.
Good stuff. Well, how has your relationship with your mother prepared you to become the woman that you are today?
Girl, let me tell you, when that man comes, he has one great woman because of my mom. My mom has been a truly, stellar example of being a woman who works, but a woman who takes care of her house at the same time, a woman who has a heart for others, who's a servant. She has taught me patience. That's probably the thing that I have gained so much from my mom is, the benefits of being patient and remaining faith-filled at the same time. So, yeah, she's incredible.
All right. Well, what book most influenced you?
Book. So many books I have read. Oh, I gotta tell you, just one book.
Just one. Well, maybe for you since you're an author. Look.
Well, okay. I'm going to say The Purpose-Driven Life. That book I started to read my sophomore year of college, and I feel like that book has just helped me make so much sense and gain so much revelation on who I am and what I was created to do. So that's the book I'll choose.
Okay. Well, what keeps you grounded?
What keeps me grounded? Let's see. I think a couple of things keep me grounded. One is from where I come from. I come from very humble beginnings, and so we have worked hard for a lot of things that we have, and I know just the understanding that things could, you can have things today, and things can be gone tomorrow. So always acknowledging, where your trust lie and who's the provider of your blessing. So I think that keeps me humble. Where I was raised, my home, and my faith.
Okay. Well, what question do you wish more people would ask you?
Ooh, what question I feel like most people should ask me?
Yeah, what question do you wish more people would ask you?
Oh my gosh, this is a good one. Wow. That's a good one, Tasha. I'm stuck on that one.
I love it.
I'm stuck on that one.
Okay, we're going to come back to that one, though, but so be thinking. So, while you answer these other ones, no. What is the last thing?
I'm thinking.
Look, okay. What is the last thing you binge watched?
Oh, This Is Us. Yeah, I had no idea about this show, but I started, seeing people talk about it on social media, and I'm just like, what is This Is Us?
Mm-hmm.
So, we were out for fall break a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was like, so I'm starting with season 1, and I binge watched This Is Us, and it was really good. I love it. I mean, I still have to catch up on season 2, but it was a really good show.
Yeah.
Yes, I did cry.
Yes, that's my show. That definitely is one of that's kind of the new age. I call it the new age Cosby show. Like, because I remember, back then, of course, the Cosby, it was just kind of like the show back in the day. And it's like now, I know there's other shows that are going on too, but it's definitely one where you can watch with family. Kind of the others, they may have more adult content here and there. And some things you may look at, you're like, I don't want to see that with my mother. Or, just your grandma or something, or your dad. So it's, that's kind of one of those shows where you can sit with the kids, with everybody. You can watch it together. So that's why I call it kind of the new age. Just kind of the new, I guess, up to date, what I should say. But it's some good the good acting, all of it. I agree with you. That's my show too. So yes. Okay. What is something that every woman should try once in her lifetime?
Every woman should try once in their lifetime.
Yes.
Okay, this might not be appropriate, but I want to say waxing.
Love it.
Did I say that out loud?
You did. Look.
I just think that's just something every woman should try.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, but I can't really say it. But waxing.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying.
That's a woman's thing.
Right. At least once. Try it once. I hear
just
you.
Once.
Awesome. What is some advice you would give to a woman with a broken heart?
I would say take the time to heal before moving into new relationships. If that's where the brokenness is coming from, even if that's not where the brokenness is coming from, don't rush the healing. take the time and go through the healing process. And whatever that process is, how long it takes, whatever it looks like, go through it. One of the things that come out in some of my short stories is that the main character, Bethany, was experiencing some heartbreak and brokenness as well. And when she decided that she wanted true healing, she had to sit in that pain. She didn't try to find pseudo things to, you know, make the pain go away but still be broken. She sat in that pain and she dealt with the issues that, you know, cause the brokenness. So don't rush the healing process. Do what is necessary, you know, to be truly healed.
Okay. What is your favorite kind of food?
My favorite kind of food, an Italian girl. Yes. I love Italian food. Yes. Yes.
Okay, good stuff.
I love all the carbs.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes. Where would you like to visit if you could go anywhere?
If I can go anywhere, I'm going to Paris.
Okay.
Me and Paris are going to meet, girl. This is like all my places to go, because in my senior year, I was the French class president. Class president, and they went to Paris, and because of, you know, financial situations, I was not able to partake in that trip, and I'm just like, I am going to do that as an adult. I have to get that done.
I love it. What superpower would you like to have?
Ooh, superpower. You know what? Sometimes I just want to be invisible. I want to be able to be invisible, and when I say invisible, not to be nosy or anything like that, but just kind of be that secret blessing to people. There's so many people who we know may be hurting or may, you know, have some issues going on, but sometimes we are hesitant to act or do things because we just don't know. And so if I can be invisible, I can still see that need and then, like, help meet that need without them even knowing it, because a lot of times people just, you know, they don't want everybody in their business.
Right.
But yeah, to be invisible. And I guess to be nosy too on those certain situations.
Yeah, okay. What would a perfect day for you look like?
A perfect day?
Yes.
A perfect day would probably be waking up around 10 o'clock, to breakfast in bed, and watching Netflix for about 5 hours.
Love it.
And then probably have, like, dinner in bed too. But yes, I'm an introvert, so I love alone time.
Yeah.
It energizes me. So, I mean, just being able to spend that day inside, no responsibilities, no worries, and food being in the house and cook, oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
I know, right? Yes. What's the most important lesson that you've learned within the last year?
Oh, within the last year. Oh my. Well, I guess the most important lesson I learned, it goes back to what I said before. Don't rush the healing process. That's one of the lessons I've learned. It's truly worth it to go through it and to be, you know, truly healed coming out of a situation, and not always seeking those, you know, what I like to call pacifiers for the situation. So, yeah, don't rush the healing process. Take the time needed, no matter what it looks like, to gain your healing.
Okay. And if you could talk to one person from history, who would it be and why?
One person from history. Oh. I know this is probably cliche, but I think I would want to talk to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Not because, his popularity with civil rights, it's because I really wasn't a history person, but the little history we did, that I did get taught, was about civil rights. And he was just such a significant person during that time, and just wanting to, hear his motivation for doing what he did, and how was he really able to come to a place of nonviolence in the face of violence? Because I often say, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could live in that era. And, or even now, sometimes I wonder, can I go through what they did and remain nonviolent, violent? So just kind of hearing his heart on, what was his motivation for that? How was he really, able to stay nonviolent in those situations? Because I know the human side of him probably wanted to smack somebody, but he didn't. So, just kind of talk to him about that, because that era of history really impacts me, as a woman of color, and the things that I'm able to, participate in. I think about voting. I was just saying with my students that, if it wasn't for this era, then I might not be able to vote right now. So he's just a trailblazer who paved the way, and I also just want to tell him thank you,
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely one of those people too that I want to speak to. And I guess one of my things with asking him is, did he really want to integrate? After he, after that was going to be the case, or even that eventually became the answer, or what they felt like that's what he wanted to do. I just believe that, he really, he was rethinking that. He was like, we need to build up, we need to be equal. That's the thing. We want the equal opportunities, but not to integrate, because if you already have the platter and I only have a saucer, how am I ever going to get to that level if I'm not, if I haven't built up within myself? It's almost like what you were saying with self-healing. Being able to do that first. You can't bite somebody in when you're still broken. So it's we have been broken down so much as a people. And I just believe he was changing. I do. I believe that wasn't the goal. It was, we want equal opportunities. So, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, but we're going to go back to that.
No, that was really good.
Oh, well, good. Yeah. But it was because you said that first, him, I was like, yeah, he's definitely one on my list. But so we're back at that question, and that will end our segment about what question do you wish more people would ask you?
I was sitting here thinking about that, and I didn't want to sound selfish, but I think sometimes I wish people would ask, is there anything I can do for you?
That's a good one.
Because I'm a person who pours out a whole lot, and I enjoy doing what I do.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I feel like I want to be seen about.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I want to be seen about. So
Yes.
I guess that's my question if I have to come up with one.
I love it. No, that's honest. And I appreciate you for saying that, because that's okay. It's not selfish at all, ma'am. Good stuff. Well, we're going to segue into the topic as it relates to community service. And I would like you to share, with us, what ways are you giving back to the community?
Well, right now, since I have transitioned into, writing and publishing and all of that, community service have been geared a little bit toward that right now. I do have a former student of mine who's working on a short story, and I am guiding her through that process, and will finance that for her. So I am giving back in that arena right now. I do volunteer at times when I can, when community events come up. I do like to volunteer, whether that's just, serving food and events or different things like that. But most of my community service right now is investing my time and resources to help future writers. I hope that is considered community service, but that's what I am doing right now. I'm also working on another project for a woman who, for her daughter, she found some stories of her daughter and want to get that completed and published. So I am also doing that for her free of charge, using my time, resources, and networks to help that come to pass. And hopefully in the near future, I will be able to partner with a friend of mine to help start a mentoring group for some of our students and incorporate that community service piece where we can get out in the community more and serve those in need. So that's kind of how I'm giving back right now. I feel like God has blessed me with a gift. There were people who helped me along the way as I was writing, and so I want to help those who have those same gifts but may not know how to do it.
Perfect. We're going to move into our faith segment, and I wanted you to share a time when your faith has been tested and how you came through it. And this is to encourage our audience.
Well, my faith has been tested many and many and many times. Let me think of one that I would like to discuss. Wow. All right. So I don't think I have ever really talked about this situation ever, but I am okay with the situation, and so if it's going to help somebody else, then I will speak about it. But I have had an illness for quite some time now. When I say quite some time, I'm talking about years. And I really did not know that it was an illness. Did not want to accept that it was an illness, but I have had an illness of anxiety and depression. And I really did not understand it at first. And, I tried to talk to a couple of people about it. I know God is a healer, but if you don't know you need to be healed, you may not trust him or even ask him for that, because I didn't accept depression as I didn't know depression was an illness. I just thought it was like, being sad. I was just sad, or I was just having anxiety. Everybody get anxiety, right? Right? So my faith was tested because I guess at some point because I had suffered with it for so long that I didn't think that I could be healed from it.
Okay.
And so I just dealt with it. I coped with it. But at the same time, my faith knew that God was a healer, and that, this is not how, this wasn't a part of my bread. Healing was my bread, not, this illness. So, I really just did not think God would heal me. I knew he probably could, but would heal me from this. And so, after about 4 years, and I guess acknowledging that this was an illness and going to get some help for it, talking with a counselor, even medicated for a short period of time, and applying God's word with it and standing on faith, I am so much free now, where depression does not have that same, hold on me. But my faith was really tested because, first of all, I didn't know that it was an illness. I just thought it was sadness or whatever. And, sometimes when you try to talk to some people, they may not understand either, and some of their words can cause the situation to be worse been better. But God really was with me through this whole time. And to be honest, Tasha, my faith is like so much stronger watching, God enlighten me, first of all, because when you know what something is, then you can call it by name. And you can deal with that situation. And so, and I guess my faith was tested too, because when I was dealing with this, I didn't feel like a person of faith. So I fell into, guilt. So now I'm dealing with an illness, but at the same time, I'm feeling kind of isolated from my faith community, because I'm feeling like, okay, I can't be a person of faith if I'm dealing with this. And I'm, it was just, I was in a bad place or whatever, but through getting natural help and applying that with my spiritual help, God taught me a lot about depression. He taught me, so many things about this, where I was being able to name it, and then my prayers became even more specific. I was able to call the symptoms out by name, call the illness out by name, and apply God's word to that specific situation. And now I forgot the scripture, the book and the verse, but there's a scripture that says God has comforted me so that I can comfort others. So because I came out of this situation, and because he, enlightened me and healed me, and my faith grew in that, because I used to believe that he wouldn't do it, even though I know he could. And when he did do it, my faith grew. And it showed me that, God is a good God. And healing is his children's bread. And he wants to heal me from my infirmities. He wants to heal me from my sicknesses or whatever. And so there was a time where I had to acknowledge that, I had unbelief. And so I began to pray specific prayers like, God, help my unbelief, and he did. And so my faith grew stronger, and so now I'm able to help other people who face the same type of illness. It's so funny, because I can be in a room and just observing people, I could kind of spot out that they may deal with the same illness that I dealt with. And once we connect on that, it opens the door for true healing and faith to grow, because a lot of times our faith diminishes because we don't feel affirmed in what we feel. So once I was affirmed in that I'm not crazy, and I can still have faith, then my faith grew. Then the healing came, and I was able to come out of this situation. But I just really, really thank God for freedom in this situation, because it did have me bound, and it did have me, in unbelief of the majestic power of God. And so I feel like I'm stronger, I'm wiser, and I can help comfort others because God has comforted me.
I love it. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that and being transparent with that. That's awesome. Perfect. And I love when you said my faith, because as we know, we've been taught faith is a servant. You said my faith knew that God was a healer. That's pretty cool. Like that, because it's like you were talking to it like you're a servant, and it's like the faith knows what God's capable of, and it's whether we then put our faith into action. So that was really good. I was like, yes. I was like, I almost started shouting. When on that part, I said, you gotta let her finish the story. She gotta finish telling it. But no, that was powerful. Wow, that was good. That's good. Woo, that's one of those ahas. So thank you. Okay, we're gonna move into our closing segment. It's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And so the first question is, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self, what would you say to her?
Don't limit yourself and what you want to do and accomplish. Don't put limits on yourself.
Perfect. Who inspires you?
Mom and Dad.
Okay. And what is the best pearls of wisdom you've ever received?
I think that would come from my godmother. She always told me that I was a diamond, and everybody couldn't afford a diamond. Some people would only be able to window shop. Some people would come in and only marry me or whatever. But she said, never lower your cost because you are a precious jewel. And so she was like, and she also went on to give me the example about, they're not going to lower their prices just because somebody can't afford that diamond in the store. And so she always reminded me never to lower my prices.
All right. Well, what, is there any last minute comment that you want to share?
Oh, just want to thank you for inviting me to be on the show and doing the interview. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for thinking of the small town girl with big city dreams. I really enjoyed our time together, and I just, really pray that something I said could inspire, edify, support, affirm anybody who listens. It was great. It was enlightening, and I enjoyed it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I definitely thank you for being with us, and even like I said earlier, just being transparent and willing to share, just to help our vision move forward. So thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Well, our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to always be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today, and you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all each week, and we will talk to you soon.